Welcome back to a new episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. I'm going to continue to talk about confidence once again. As I mentioned on the previous podcast episode, this week, I want to talk about the habits of the most confident women in the room. In almost 20 years of career, I have had the opportunity to share rooms with many amazing women. And I like to observe people around me. And over the years, I have identified certain habits that those women that came across as most confident share. What are the things that they have in common? What makes them be so confident in themselves and show up as confident in meetings and interactions in the professional setting? That's what we're talking about today. Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, health and fitness coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves. Those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode. I have a confession to make. When I decided to start this series on building your confidence, I was not expecting that I was going to end up with so much content to share. But the more that I have immersed myself into this topic and the more that I keep working on building my own self-confidence, the more that I'm learning, and I feel selfish not sharing with you all the aha moments that I'm having, all the things that I'm learning, all the strategies that are working for me in hopes that they can help you as well in building your confidence. See, anytime that I talk here in the podcast is come with me on the journey because I need to work on these things too. I am not perfect by any means, and for sure there are moments where I lack confidence. There are other moments that I am very confident. But today what I want to talk about is confidence in the professional world. And this year it's my 20th year of professional trajectory. I started my career very young and it's been already 20 years. I can't believe when I say that, I feel so old. But I've been working for 20 years. And in this 20 years, I've been very fortunate to share rooms with amazing, confident women from which I have learned a lot. See, I am a very observer person. I like to observe around me. I like to observe the people that I interact with when I'm in meetings, when I'm doing presentations. I always observe the people around me. And I try to reflect on what I see others doing. And I have to say that along my career, I have learned from the best and I have learned from the worst. I have learned what to do and what not to do. Today, I'm going to share with you what are the habits that the most confident women in any room share. And this is based on 20 years of observation, 20 years of having the privilege of sharing rooms with, again, amazing, confident women. So, what I want to unbundle is what are these things that they have in common? What are these things that separate those women that are super confident from those that lack that confidence? The first thing that I find they have in common is that they value themselves. They know their worth and they surround themselves with people who know their worth. I think this is very important. They don't stay in relationships when they are unhappy or they're not treated fairly. They know when to say it's enough, right? The women that are most confident, they surround with people who support them and lift them up, with people that believe in themselves, and that helps them believe more in themselves. Um, they are willing to leave toxic environments. I've seen many women in my career that have left a company or a job because they did not felt value, and they felt that they were worth more than what they were value at that company or at that job. And that takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of self love, and just valuing yourself and knowing your worth and being sure of how much is that you're worth. So that is one thing that I found the most confident women share. The second thing is that they are crystal clear in what they want. They have aspirations, they have dreams. They're very clear on what is that they want. If you remember, on the very first episode of this series, I talk about the three foundational A's for self-confidence, and one of them was ambition. So the most confident women in every room, one of the things that they shared is clarity around their goals. They have ambitions and they're very clear on how to get there. They have a plan of action on how to get there. Not only they're clear in what they want, but they're clear on how they're going to go about reaching what they want, right? Is not only the clarity, which is really important and for sure one thing that they have in common, but it's also the ability to put a plan in motion to achieve their goals. They have the belief that knowing where they're going and taking action, they will eventually get there. They don't second guess themselves in their decisions because they have that clarity, because they're willing to make mistakes in order to get there, because they're willing to fall and stand back up in order to achieve their dreams. Another thing that the most confident women have in common is that they're not afraid of judgment. They don't fear the judgment from others. They're not afraid of what other people might think about them or say about them. Their number one concern, if any, is holding people back from growing and living their lives at their fullest potential. So, a lot of women, they waste a lot of energy. We waste a lot of energy worrying about what other women are going to say about us behind our backs, which is something that unfortunately is very common. But confident women, they don't care. They believe in themselves and they are not afraid of judgment from others. And that comes from, first of all, that clarity that we were talking about before, but also that they know their own worth. Another thing that the most confident women have in common is that they build people up and they bring people along the way. You know, the most confident women in the room, they have the habit of complimenting their peers, highlighting positive characteristics about others. They build up those around them, especially other women around them. They are willing to put light on someone else instead of themselves. They support other women and they don't compare themselves with those around them. They know that when they raise others, then they're raising themselves as well, lifting up the people that they interact with and building those trustworthy, strong foundation in every relationship. They don't focus on comparison and competitiveness. Instead, They're focusing on collaboration. They have an abundance mindset. In other words, they are confident that there is enough for everyone. So they're not afraid of sharing that spotlight with others or putting others on the spotlight because they know that there is enough for everyone. The most confident women in the room, they also include and bring others along with her. Even if they're successful, even if they are high up in the organization, they stay humble. They invest in others. They're kind to others around them. They don't think of themselves as superior. They just think that um, they've been privileged to figure things out, and they want to pay it forward to others coming behind them and wanting to bring them along the way. So that is another thing that I had found the most confident women have in common. The other thing is that they're very self aware and they're always open for improvement. The most confident women in the room, they are the most self aware. They are not afraid to admit that they're not perfect. They know that they can always do better. They're not afraid of accepting the fact that they can improve. They think of self improvement as a way of growing. They know, they're confident that they can be better than they are today. One trait that most self aware and confident women possess is that they do not judge or look down on themselves or for needing to or wanting to improve. They own it. They let go of any judgments, as we said before, and they're completely open for constructive criticism and feedback and self improvement. They have the humility and they give permission to others to give them feedback. And they welcome that feedback as a gift because they know that that is the only way that they can improve. And they are aware that there's always going to be something that can be improved. Another thing that the most confident women in the room share is that they're not afraid to say no. I share this on the third part of the series. I said, really mean your no's and your yeses. And this is something that I have observed in the most confident women at work. And that is that they're not afraid to say no. And when they say no, they mean it. They don't have regrets about, oh my God, I shouldn't have said no. Maybe I should go back and say yes. They are very confident. When they say no, they mean it. And they're not afraid to say it, right? It can be really hard for a lot of people to say no. But no, it's the most powerful word that is direct. It doesn't leave room for interpretations. And what I have observed is that they're able to say no in a very tactful way, right? It never feels like they're letting others down because they always offer alternatives. They always offer um, pointing the person with someone that could help them. They don't leave people hanging on, but they are very honest with themselves on when is a yes and when it's a no. And they realize that every time that they say yes to something, they're saying no to something else. So they also have very clear what their priorities are and they align their yeses and their nos to their priorities. And I think this is something that reinforces and continues to build that self confidence, right? Because as we said in this series, confidence is that trust on yourself, on having your back, on trusting that you will figure it out, right? So the more they practice this, the more confident they become. They can trust themselves, and when it's no, it's no, and when it's yes, it's yes. Another thing that they shared is that they understand the importance of taking care of themselves. They take wellness very seriously. They make themselves a priority. They take care of themselves first. They fill up their cup first. They're not afraid to put themselves first. They don't feel guilty for putting themselves first because they know that they can pour it from an empty cup. They schedule regular activities to take care of themselves, to support their mental, emotional, and physical health. I find that the most confident women typically they have a workout routine. They have some sort of either meditation or gratitude practice. They take care of all aspects of their health. They know that they need to do that if they want to keep going and they want to keep giving more to others. And they don't feel guilty for putting themselves before others, which is something that a lot of women struggle with, right? It is more common to see women who are people pleasers than men that are people pleasers. And I'm generalizing now, but it's a fact, right? It is more common for women to be people pleasers and to always put others first, which is a great quality to have. And but confident women know that it's not selfish to invest in themselves first because they know that that way they can give more. They can help more. They can add more value. They are okay with shutting down, turning off, unplugging from the world around them to invest in themselves, which I think is something that every day is harder in the world that we live. But they focus on things like the quality of their sleep, like exercise, like scheduling time to relax and to unwind. Um, Even they look at options like therapy or meditation or yoga or other forms of self care that help them reduce stress and get re energized. Another thing is talking about things that confident women have in common. I think that when we think about these women and all the things that I've listed so far, it might come across as they are fearless. And I think that being confident and being fearless are two very different things. See, being fearless means that they are never afraid. But these women that I have observed over the years that are the most confident that I've ever witnessed in my career, they do experience fear, but they do it anyways, right? They might be afraid of talking in public or saying no or standing up to authority, or they might be afraid of quitting their jobs or switching careers or taking on a project, whatever it is, but they still go for it. They feel fear and they do it anyways. And that is something that I really admire of these women that I have had the privilege to call my mentors, to work with, to interact with along my career. Because a lot of times, that insecurity, that lack of confidence, going back to the previous podcast episodes, is that inner critic in our heads that is telling us all the reasons why we should not do something that we're afraid of, right? But these women, they are able to lower the volume of their inner critic, call in their inner hero, and still do the thing that they're scared of. Another thing that they have in common is that they don't feel the need to compare themselves to others. The most confident women, they never negatively compare themselves to the success of others. It's very rare. Um, or I think it's also very rare that they talk negatively of others out of jealousy, out of, that comparison. Instead, they they feel secure on themselves and their capabilities. They're not intimidated by the success of others. They're willing to help and celebrate other people's success, even when they haven't been successful yet. And finally, one last thing that the most confident women have in common is that they focus on the positive side of things. They have the habit of always seeing the glass half full. They acknowledge the challenges, but they always try to flip the script and focus on the positives. They always looking for the opportunities. They are always looking for things that they're grateful for. They always looking for what they're learning in a situation. They genuinely believe that something good will come out of every situation, not matter how challenging that situation is. And for that reason, the most confident people, the most confident women have frequently good days because that's what they're focusing on. They focus the attention on the good, which outweighs the bad in every situation. So they tend to have more good days because remember, where focus goes, energy flows. So they're always focusing on the positives. That is something that they have in common. And when we look at the most confident women, we might say or think that they're lucky or they're always happy or they're always optimistic or they're always having good luck or they're always having a good day. And you can too by shifting your focus. The reason why they always have more good days than others, the reason why they come across as being more lucky and enjoying more life and being more fulfilled is because they focus their attention on the good in every situation. So, those are 10 things that the most confident women in the room have in common. And what do all these things have in common? They are things that can be developed. They are things that can be learned and trained, which means that you also have the power to let go of that inner critic, to let go of your insecurities and embrace your inner hero and become the most confident version of yourself. I just want to add one more thing because someone asked me this question and I thought it was so spot on. One of our listeners, her name is Jackie, she asked me, what if someone is super confident, overly confident? And it's possible. And I think any extreme is not good, right? So you don't want to be overly confident to the point that it becomes a blind spot or creates other blind spots for yourself. So I think that the women that are most successful and most confident are those that have developed that self-confidence in parallel to cultivating their humility. The other day I was scrolling in on Instagram and I saw a quote from Ed Milet. I love Ed Milet. He just published a new book, The Power of One More, which I absolutely love. I just finished reading. And I follow him on Instagram. And I really like a lot of the quotes that he shares and the content that he shares in general. But a coincidence, he posted a quote that says, "Show me a self confident person who also has humility, and I will show you someone with an amazing future." And I think this is so true. And this is how I want to close today's episode, saying that You have the power to develop your self confidence, but never forget to grow your humility as well. You need both. It's like the yin and the yang. And when you're able to develop both, you're going to be the most powerful women that you've ever been. You're going to be able to show up for yourself, to stand up for yourself and your values and your goals and pursue your dreams while making others around you feel seen, heard, and supported. I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast episode. As always, I'm going to ask you a favor. If you like today's podcast episode, share it with a friend. I'm sure as you're listening to me, you can think of someone that you're thinking, she can benefit from this episode. Please share it with her or share it in your social media account and tag me at Leading Yourself Podcast. Before I say goodbye for today, I want to remind you that the Thrive Conference is coming up next September 15th and 16th. 2 days packed with amazing speakers and amazing experiences. We're going to have giveaways, we're going to have amazing insights, and lots of fun. The event is completely free and tickets are selling out. So make sure that you grab yours, and I will see you at Thrive 2022. With that, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will talk to you again on another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast.